There are places in this world that time forgets, left to crumble and decay in silence. The old Blackwood Manor was one such place, standing on a lonely hill overlooking a town that had long since turned its back on it. Locals would whisper tales, stories of a family that vanished overnight, leaving everything behind. But they weren't entirely correct. They didn't leave everything. They left her. They called her Lily, a porcelain doll, exquisite in her craftsmanship, with ringlets of auburn hair and a dress of faded lace. She sat on a child's chair in what was once a nursery, her painted blue eyes fixed on the door, as if waiting for someone to return. For years she waited. The seasons turned, dust settled like a fine gray snow, and the house groaned around her, its wooden bones settling deeper into the earth. My name is Leo, and I'm what you might call an urban explorer. Old, abandoned places are my cathedrals. I'd heard the stories about Blackwood Manor, of course. Local legends, ghost stories told to scare kids. I didn't believe in ghosts. I believed in history, in the stories trapped within the walls of decaying buildings. So one crisp autumn afternoon, armed with my camera and a flashlight, I found a broken window at the back of the manor and slipped inside. The silence was the first thing that hit me. It wasn't just quiet. It was a heavy, suffocating silence, the kind that presses in on your eardrums. Every creak of the floorboards under my boots sounded like a gunshot. Dust hung thick in the air, tasting of age and forgotten memories. I moved from room to room, my flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. A grand ballroom with a shattered chandelier, a library where books lay swollen and rotting on the floor. It was a perfect time capsule of decay. Then I found the nursery. It was on the second floor, at the end of a long, dark hallway. Unlike the other rooms, this one felt different, less abandoned. In the center of the room, bathed in a sliver of moonlight from a grimy window, was the doll, Lily. I remember my first thought was how beautiful she was, how pristine. While everything around her had succumbed to ruin, she looked almost new. Her porcelain skin was flawless, her painted smile serene. I felt an odd compulsion to get closer. I raised my camera, the click of the shutter echoing unnaturally loud in the stillness. I took a few shots, circling the chair, trying to capture the eerie beauty of the scene. That's when I first heard it. A faint, tinny melody. It was a music box. The tune was simple, childlike, but it was threaded with a profound sadness. I froze, sweeping my flashlight beam around the room. There was no music box in sight. The melody seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. It danced at the edge of my hearing, so faint I wondered if I was imagining it. Then the whispers started, soft as a sigh curling around the edges of the music. At first I couldn't make out words, just the sibilant hiss of voices. I told myself it was the wind, the house settling, my mind playing tricks on me. But the feeling of being watched was undeniable. The air grew cold, a chill that had nothing to do with the autumn evening. My breath plumed in front of my face. I kept my camera trained on the doll. Through the lens, her painted smile didn't seem so serene anymore. It looked like a smirk. Her glass eyes seemed to glitter in the moonlight with a life they shouldn't possess. I backed away slowly, my heart hammering against my ribs. The music box tune grew a little louder, the whispers seeming to coalesce into a single, drawn-out sound. A name. Leo. My blood ran cold. How? I hadn't spoken my name. No one knew I was here. I stumbled back out of the nursery, nearly tripping over a loose floorboard. The sound of my own footsteps was joined by another. A soft, shuffling sound, echoing from down the hall. It was slow, deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. Like small shoes on old wood. Panic seized me. I wasn't alone. I scrambled down the grand staircase, my flashlight beam bouncing erratically, creating a frantic dance of shadows. The tapping followed, always just behind me, echoing from the floor above. The whispers were louder now, swirling around me, a chorus of faint, airy voices. I could almost make out words, fragments of sentences. Stay. Play with us. Don't leave. I reached the ground floor and sprinted towards the broken window I'd come through. The house seemed to fight me. A door slammed shut in a hallway to my left. A draft extinguished my flashlight, plunging me into near total darkness. I fumbled in my pocket for my phone, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. When the phone's light finally flickered on, I pointed it back towards the staircase and I saw her. Lily. She was standing at the top of the stairs. She hadn't been there a moment ago. I swear it. She was just there. Standing perfectly still, her head tilted slightly, her painted smile wider now, a grotesque curve on her porcelain face. Her blue eyes seemed to glow in the weak light of my phone. The music box melody was deafening now, a frantic, discordant jumble of notes. The whispers were a roar in my ears, a storm of voices all begging me to stay. But the worst part was the silence from the doll herself. She just stood there, watching me. I didn't wait to see what would happen next. I threw myself through the broken window, not caring about the glass that scraped my arms. I landed hard on the overgrown lawn and just ran. I didn't look back. I ran through the tangled weeds, down the hill, and didn't stop until the lights of the town were a welcoming glow in the distance. I never went back to Blackwood Manor. I tried to forget what happened, to rationalize it. I told myself I was tired, that the dust and the atmosphere got to me. But I can't forget. I developed the photos from my camera. Most of them are what you'd expect. Dusty rooms, decaying furniture. But the photos from the nursery, they're different. In the first picture, the doll, Lily, is sitting in her chair exactly as I found her. In the second, taken just seconds later, her head is tilted slightly to the left. In the third, her hand, which had been resting in her lap, is now gripping the edge of the chair. In the last photo I took before I fled, she's not in the chair at all. The chair is empty. The photo is just of an empty wooden chair in a dark, dusty room. But if you look closely, if you zoom in on the dark doorway behind the chair, you can just make out a small shape standing there, in the shadows, watching. Sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet and I'm alone, I think I can still hear it. A faint, tinny music box tune, carried on the wind. And sometimes, I hear whispers, soft and faint, calling my name. They say the family just vanished, but I don't think they did. I think they're still there. I think they stayed to play. And Lily is always looking for new playmates. The house is empty, you see. But it's never, ever alone. They're waiting for you. So if you ever find yourself near an old, forgotten place, and you feel that pull to go inside, just remember my story. Some doors are best left unopened, and some dolls are best left to sit in their chairs, alone in the dark. Because once you've been invited to play, the game never truly ends. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you enjoy this kind of content, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me create more stories for you all. Stay safe out there, and check under your bed. Good night.